Namaste. Welcome to 5th episode of Flutter State Management Hero series. Up until now, we have built our own API, we have set up our new Flutter application, we have connected our Flutter applications to use our API using HTTP package. Then we move on to integrate RiverPod. So we have learned how to integrate RiverPod, how to set it up, how to use various providers like state provider, simple provider, and then future provider as well. In today's episode, we are going to optimize our quiz application further. So if we look at the quiz page, quiz review page, and quiz page, we have two different view models that we are creating to share data from one page to another. For example, if we look at quiz review page, we are using quiz summary VM view model, where we are passing category, list of questions, correct count, answers. And we also have another view model, that is quiz page view model, where again we are passing category, questions, and then whether or not it is a practice mode. So various data are duplicating, and if we check routes file, then we can see that we are passing those view models in routes. So while routing from one page to another, or while navigating from one page to another, we are sending those parameters, those view models from one page to another. However, with state management, we can solve this problem easily without sending data from one page to another using parameters. This will keep our routes clean, and this will make it easier to access any data from multiple pages without having to pass them in the parameter. So for this, today we will set up a ChangeNotifier and use a ChangeNotifier provider provided by RiverPod to make it available throughout our application lifecycle. So let us begin by creating our ChangeNotifier. So what we do is, in our quiz feature inside presentation, so we'll create a new file inside notifiers folder quizstate.dart. So in the presentation notifiers, we create quizstate.dart inside our quiz feature. Here, let us start quiz state extends ChangeNotifier. So we are extending ChangeNotifier. ChangeNotifier is a simple object that provides us with option to notify changes to its listener. So we'll see that in a bit. First, let's create our ChangeNotifier, and in here we will create those properties that are passed using our quiz page view models. So we have quiz summary view model and quiz page view model. So let us copy these properties. First, category and questions here, and then again category, questions, correct count, and answers. Right, and we don't need practice mode because I believe we already have a provider set up for practice mode. We'll see that in a bit, but first let's remove these finals because these values have to be changed. Let us import these. So import, and again import, and let's make these private so that we can create a setter and getter, and whenever we have a setter, we can notify changes to the listeners. So we can create this answers as a empty map. Now let's create getters and setters for all of these. So also one example, category get category, this should return category. And for setter, category, here we set up underscore category equals category and then notify listener. So this notify listener, whenever this category value changes, notify listener is called so that any other widgets listening to this will rebuild and get the updated value. So in the same process, I will create other getters and setters for other fields. Here I have getter and setter for questions, correct count, and then answers. It's same as category. Alright, finally, now we'll define our ChangeNotifierProvider. Similar to what we have been doing previously, defining our state provider or simply provider or future provider, we can define ChangeNotifierProvider. Let's see how to do that. So here, final quiz state provider equals ChangeNotifierProvider, and here we get ref and we return quiz state object. So this is how we can define a ChangeNotifierProvider. Now we will see how we can use this ChangeNotifierProvider instead of passing view models from one page to another. So let us start by going to first our quiz options dialog. Alright, so in our quiz options dialog below, here what we are doing is we are passing a quiz page view model, right? However, we don't want to pass this. We want to set the values in the notifier so that this quiz page can access it from there instead of passing as a argument. So let's see how we can do that. First here, let us read. So how we can read a provider, ChangeNotifierProvider? It's exactly same as how we are reading other providers. Like here we are reading a state provider. So similar to that, we can read context.read. So here we read quiz state provider. This would be our quiz state. So this is our quiz state. Now first we need category. So this category is set somewhere else. So let's see our category lists page, right? So in our categories page, so here in pages categories, what we do is whenever we tap on category, here we are calling category pressed with context and categories. So let's go to categories pressed. So let's set here context.read quiz state provider dot category equals category. So we are setting the value of category in the quiz state provider, that is our quiz state notifier. And instead of passing this category here, we'll not pass this category in the quiz options dialog. So if we go to quiz options dialog, we don't need this category here. And finally, here we are reading this category, right? So what we can do, we already have a consumer and watch here. So we can watch for watch quiz state provider dot category. This will be our category, right? Now we can use category dot title. And finally, when we press the button, here again we have quiz state. We can read the quiz state, and then our category is final quiz state dot category, right? Then instead of passing this quiz page view model, we'll set the questions again in the quiz state. So here quiz state dot questions equals questions that we have just loaded from the API. And now here we'll not pass this, so we have category, and then we have questions. We are passing questions, and practice mode, as I said earlier, we already have a practice mode provider. However, this needs to be accessed in the other pages, so we'll convert this to public just by removing the underscore. Right. So in quiz page view module, let's remove this argument. Okay. And then let us go to our quiz page. So here in the quiz page, we will remove this. We don't need this anymore. Right. And we don't need this correct count, as this is also available in the ChangeNotifier. So here we can set context dot read. For that we need to import reverped. So let's import reverped. Then we can context dot read quiz state provider dot correct count equals 0. And instead of vz.vm.questions, here again we need context.read quiz state provider. So instead of this, we can do this. Now, inside our build function, we are already using vz.vm. So let us do one thing. What we do is, we return first consumer, so that we can read the state from providers. Here consumer will provide us with a build function where context watch, and we get a child. And let's copy all this code from here till the end inside this builder. Now what we can do here is quiz state equals watch quiz state provider. Now we can search for vz.vm and replace it with quiz state. So let's replace all, and let's move down and let's fix some of the problems. So again, this correct count should be, instead of set state correct count plus plus, what we want to do is quiz state dot correct count. We can simply do plus plus, and we can remove this. And again, this answer, we don't need this answers. This is also available by our ChangeNotifier. So let's fix the problems. Let's move down. So instead of this, let's again replace this with quiz state dot answers, replace all, and let's fix other problems. So quiz state dot practice mode. So instead of this, we should have context dot read practice mode provider dot state, or we can also use, I guess, watch. So instead of context dot read, here we can use, we need to use watch because this can change. And here quiz state dot practice mode, instead of this, we can again read practice mode provider dot state. We can replace it with this. Okay. And Now next finish, we need to pass quiz states as well. So here, let's change this on pressed function so that we can pass the quiz state here. So quiz state, now this will create an error. So here we will pass in quiz state. Same for this. Again, we'll pass in quiz state. Right. So finally, this should also requires. Okay. Again, we don't need this quiz summary VM because we already have everything we need in the notifier or our provider, so that we can simply access that in our quiz review and quiz summary page. So let's see if all the errors are fixed. Let's remove these unused imports. Okay. So looks like there are no more errors. Let's go to our quiz review page. Again, we don't need this VM here. And let's change this to consumer widget. And let's remove this unused import. Now build function will also have a watch function. That is a scoped reader. Here we can watch quiz state provider. And again for VM, we can simply replace it with quiz state, replace all. Now let's fix the problems. So here again, final. So we need to pass context, index, and again, so if we check at context, index, sorry, we don't even need context here. We can simply pass quiz so we can pass the question, current question, as well as quiz state. So here we don't need this. We already have the question here. Okay, and let's fix this. Here we have context and index, and here we need to pass quiz state dot questions index and quiz state. So again, okay, the error is fixed here. Now finally, in quiz summary page, again, we don't need this VM. Let's remove this VM and let's change this to consumer widget. And again, here we get watch and quiz state provider, and this VM should be quiz state. And again, we can search for control H VM dot, we can change this to quiz state dot, so replace all. Here we have problem, so we don't want to pass VM. We don't need to pass VM again because we are receiving all the values from our provider. Now let's go to our routes and fix these because we don't need this VM being passed here, here, and here. So all of these functions pages no longer require parameters because we are getting all the required values from our notifier. So let's see, we have fixed all the errors, I guess. So let's check in the debug console. Let's hot restart and see. Okay, restarted. Now let us try our application. It's loading categories. It might be slower because I have deployed it in Vercel in the free tier. Let's wait for category to load. Okay, category has been loaded. Let's try general knowledge. Let's check practice mode. Start the quiz. Okay. Sending notification was instance of quiz. So we have some problem, but it is working. Let's see. Incorrect, 1 correct, incorrect, 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 incorrect. Only one answer is correct till now. Okay, so 10%, 10 total questions, 10%, only one was correct if we check answers. So everything is still working properly. So in this episode, we looked at how we can simplify our application and prevent us from writing messy code like passing parameters from multiple pages, receiving it even in the pages where those parameters are not required, which could simply be achieved with state management. So using state management, we could do those functionalities simply without passing any parameters, just by accessing only the required items from the state using RiverPod. And in this session, we learned about ChangeNotifier and the ChangeNotifierProvider that comes with RiverPod. And important thing is, ChangeNotifier is already available in the Flutter core library, whereas ChangeNotifierProvider is provided to us by the RiverPod. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Please provide your constructive feedback so that I can improve, and also let me know what other related tutorials do you want regarding RiverPod. This application for now is complete, but with your suggestions, if you have any more suggestions regarding what are the things that you want to add or what are the things that you want to learn regarding RiverPod, I'll try to add those as well. Thank you everyone. See you again soon in the next episodes.